freezing.
Yes.
I'm going to kill Johnny. I really am. Making me come out in Belfast to do a review is unbelievable.
And see how loud to be the apartment.
Hello, gents. Hello, we all Christmassy spirits, and I've got my old Christmassy jumper, you know, and this is for you, Neil.
Okay.
And this is for you.
Thank you very much, man. Shooting off.
You know, it's
Well,
Yeah.
now, do you wanna, Ian? Do you wanna go first?
Yeah.
See what you think of it.
Yeah. See, you really shouldn't have.
It's a soup bowl for a mouse. Very handy.
Thank you, Johnny. I mean, I know you spare no expense on that
Well,
show, but
you know, I know.
Yeah. Thank
I know you
man.
talk about getting a mouse for your computer and stuff. I thought that might.
Yeah, I was, I guess.
But so
thank you. Yeah.
Neil.
Thank you very much.
interesting.
And yeah, that's a shower cap for an elf.
You really should have.
No, Neil, come on. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. Come on. So you know.
Well, speaking.
I mean, what elf would not want that?
I'm not an elf.
It's not for you.
I don't have an elf.
It's for your pet elf.
I haven't kidnapped
And
one yet.
It's funny you should be talking about presents. Me and Neil sort of felt that you do so much hard work on Schmat.
Oh, I do.
That we.
I'm the linchpin of the.
You are. You absolutely are. You're the only person who gives me a starting podcast. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But we sort of thought we'd club together and get you something. So, you know. I know how much you like those things.
Yeah, it's Opal Fruits, not sponsored.
Yep. The original.
The original.
Unfortunately, we couldn't find any marathons.
Well, that's all right.
You do realise the police are going to come along here and arrest us for littering, right?
Well, we're going to tidy up. That's a new concept.
Neil's going to tidy up.
I've
Yes,
got
he is.
my
We're all
Christmas
gonna tidy up.
jumper.
Yep. Christmas
Yeah.
jumpers, the hats.
Although I have to zip up because it's, you can only expose your jumper for a certain period of time before it gets cold.
Ah, damn it.
So, anyway, before we start, why don't you pull that? That's what he said.
That was my cracker. Give me that.
Right, ready?
Ready?
A bit like this show, it didn't have any bang, and I went,
Oh no!
Take it off me.
ready?
Does that mean we have to come back next week and do
Oh,
this? This is ridiculous. I mean, this is.
no, these were Poundland specials, so do not complain. All right.
So you wouldn't endorse these then, no?
Well, depends. Let's see what we got. So we got the obligatory hat, which people wear for 2 seconds and then throw away.
No. People fall asleep in these hats after their turkey dinner.
The obligatory joke.
So, and I got a mystery calculator.
And I got a Sudoku puzzle book.
Sudoku. What did you get in?
Oh,
Apart from a hernia trying to pick it up from the floor.
I got. Where is it? Where'd it go? Oh, I got like a wee. Is that a comb? It looks like a comb.
A comb? Well, you know what? You need it.
Yeah, I really need the comb.
This
Yeah.
is what you
And
need.
you get the obligatory joke here. What happened when the snow girl fell out with the snow boy? She gave him the cold shoulder.
Oh dear. Well, mine's scrumpled up, so it must be really bad. How many chimneys does Father Christmas go down?
Don't know.
Stacks.
Stacks. My gem. This is the best of the lot. I made this up myself. What do snowmen eat for breakfast?
Snowflakes.
Neil, you just ruined the punchline. That wasn't very nice.
Sorry.
Neil.
We have to start this all over again just because you effed up.
Well, we'll do it from your bit where you tell us and not ruin the punchline, and we might include his ruining it at the end.
At the end. Right. What do snowmen eat for breakfast?
I don't know what the snowflake.
Neil, shut up. You're muted.
I can't work under these
I
conditions,
know.
Johnny.
I don't say anything.
You just be quiet. Right,
Yeah.
go.
What do snowmen eat for breakfast, Johnny?
Sorry. Right. Let's do it again. Go.
What do snowmen eat for breakfast?
I don't know.
Snowflakes.
Oh, wow. Did you know that one, Neil?
No, I didn't.
And what, pray, are you?
My name's Edmund.
Is that how you address a queen?
I beg your pardon, I didn't know. Your Majesty.
Not know the Queen of Narnia? You shall know us better hereafter.
The Christmas is warmer.
I think I've just told my front. Oh, your Podland have really pushed the ball out this yeah. And it's time to say welcome to another Chat Schmat. It's Christmas when you're watching this, and it's Christmas for us as well.
We are going to talk about the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe, from the BBC in 1988.
And funnily enough, it was around 33 years ago as we've been watching these episodes as of when they were originally broadcast on BBC One. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to talk about what we watched, a little bit like we did with the Box of Delights. We're talking about the BBC's Chronicles of Narnia, and as I was saying, it was around 33 years ago. In fact, it was exactly 33 years ago
They did the first one.
that they did the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. So guys, did it bring back nostalgia for you rewatching? Do you remember it originally?
Yes, and it's one of those shows that my dad recorded for me, all the 6 episodes, and at some point over Christmas we all sat down and watched it. So I thought it was, growing up, I loved it. I was obsessed with it. It was, to me it was top notch.
Yes, there was a lot of money
Christmas
spent.
magic and
Yes.
all that.
And it had the same producer and actually screenwriter as the Box of Delights, so it was going down that kind of road. What about you, Neil? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I have memories of watching it. I remember having memories of Barbara Kellerman as the White Witch, and the Turkish delight scene was very memorable for me as a kid. And for its time, it's very lavish, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, it was very well done, and even it does stand up today. Now there are some scenes, namely for me the flying scenes on Aslan, that
Yes.
really sort of haven't stood the test of time. But
You have to lie for that.
you do,
Yeah.
you do.
But the thing is, the fact that the whole thing was shot on videotape, even being a OB video, allows for consistency with the effects.
Yes. Back then, there was a tendency for them to shoot on film when they were doing location scenes, and then in the studio, any studio shots was recorded on video. But towards the end of the 80s, they decided to use the outside broadcast equipment because, one, it was more portable and the technology was more advanced, and the effects that they used were video effects. So the Quantel systems, were able to utilize the videotape and apply the effects. And actually, it's better for it that it was all the effects and things were on actually location, and there wasn't a lot of studio stuff. There was very little. But what did you think of the costumes, Neil?
I thought the costumes were excellent. There's today for Mr. Beaver and Mrs. Beaver. Today you could do that with CGI and have them more like proper beavers. But
Yes.
I thought for the time and for the movements that the actors made, that they for a BBC production from the late 80s, I thought it did the job.
And yeah, we made some notes on it, and one of the things that the research pulled up about it was that the actors who were in the beaver costumes had so-called beaver retrievers. Some poor minion who had to go and pick the actors up if they fell over, because they were literally filming on snow. It wasn't
In heavy costumes, it would have been
Yes.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, so with limited vision, because they had applied makeup and everything. But funny enough, Neil, you were mentioning the other day, we had a conversation off camera about the movies, the Hollywood blockbuster movies, and you were trying to figure out they were actually these like CGI beavers, and you know it works well, it looks good, but there's a certain charm to it being people in a costume in a way. I think. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I suppose technically, with motion capture today, it technically still is still a performance. It's just that they've taken away the actor physically wearing the costume and the makeup.
I think there's like almost a pantomime feel to the Chronicles of Narnia, and I think the costumes sort of sell that pantomime feel, and that's what I love about it.
I think it's funny, you always say actors who wear makeup gives them a freedom to overact in a way that not wearing prosthetics.
Yes, there's a more theatrical performance sometimes when people are wearing those costumes and having to speak through the prosthetics on their face or teeth or that kind of thing. Obviously, I mean, it's very reminiscent of the kind of Doctor Who of the era. You know, as those kind of effects and those sort of programs evolved, then they were put across all the other shows. And there's definitely a feel there of that technology being used. And in the Sylvester McCoy era, which is when this would have been around, the video effects improved vastly, and if they'd been given even more money, they would have been able to achieve an awful lot. And the BBC, they're very good at doing costume period dramas, and I think this is set in the 1940s.
Yeah.
So always in those kind of shows they do well. It looks the part, it looks like you're in that, it feels like you're in that time period. And it's a more children were seen and not heard. So the professor character is much more sympathetic to the children, obviously, than people of that time would expect. You know, the housekeeper was quite strict with them, and that's in keeping with that time period where, you know, children weren't allowed to be, you know, run around unruly and play to the degree that they were. So they were given a certain amount of freedom. And obviously, when you read the books and you see the films and adaptations, they're an adaptation, they're not a verbatim of the book, and certain things have to be left out, and certain things, you know, have to be adapted to suit the medium that they're being, because the BBC did radio versions of these stories.
They did, yeah.
And other shows, other things as well, and certainly in the 50s I think there was I'm not sure of those days, but I think certainly at least in the 50s there was a radio play. So this wasn't even the first version that they did, but it's one of those things that you know, because of as we were talking about before, the limitations, even though the effects had evolved to a certain degree, you were saying about the battle scenes, they kind of fall a bit short, because in the motion picture series, you know, they can afford to have all these different people and CGI.
I think in the movies it's on a par with the Lord of the Rings films with the scale, whereas I think in the series there's almost 10 people in a fight, in a tuffle in a bunch of woods.
But I don't think it has its own charm. I think people looking at that would go, oh, this is a battle. Oh, it's, you know, it's a skirmish, you know, if that skiffle.
What I did like, what I thought was interesting at the time was the combination of animation and live action.
Yes, if you haven't seen it, basically the people who animated the Snowman animation, they were involved in this, and they animated the creatures. And where you would have CGI today, as we were saying, you know, in this case they animated them, and I think it also added a certain magical quality to the version, you know, that the BBC produced. So it all worked well, and like yourself, I'm a fan of mixing animation and live action as well.
Yeah, and I suppose there's also scenes with the wolves. They did that morphing where they did the kind of dissolving into real wolves for certain scenes that were impractical for the actor to do.
They used trained wolves in that. Actually, they used trained wolves in the Box of Delights as well. And so it gave it much more realism, if you can call it that.
Well, I think it was basically a good way to have the wolves do the things that wolves can do, but an actor as a wolf could not do.
Yes, exactly. It's taking the pressure off the performance in that way. And I think it worked. And I think the scenes in the Beavers' house and Mrs. Beaver, you know, being sort of motherly towards the mother hen, and, you know, wanting to bring the whole kitchen larder and everything, you know, all that was portrayed really well by the actors in the scenes here. And we watched it, over a period of time. We watched it actually during the period of time when it would have been originally broadcast. That was just, serendipity. It wasn't planned. It just happened to be. I went in to check just to see when it was on, and it just happened to be that was the case. And then when we watched the final episodes, it happened to be the anniversary of C.S. Lewis's death. Obviously, we're in Belfast, and C.S. Lewis was from here, so that's partly why we're freezing our what's off out here, as a sort of a little nod to him, because we could have done this Zoom in our house, and
so we're freezing it for CS.
Yes, we are, to kind of honour him. And if we had time to get a nice coffee, which was our original plan, we would raise it and drink it, but we're not. So we just you can raise your mouse soup bowl, and we'll have a little just a little remembrance of him, who brought the story to life, and I'm pretty sure he was around to see at least some of the adaptations that were made of his work.
He died. Apparently, I found this out on the actual day of his death. He died the same day as Kennedy.
Right. So in actual fact, is this was this
22nd November '63?
Doctor Who, as well. So yet again, in all these things, Doctor Who has a little link. Not to mention, some of the people that worked on this as well worked on that show.
But with JFK's assassination, apparently I guess C.S. Lewis's death got overlooked.
Yes, that would do it all right. So I mean, we will be watching more, and we will do more episodes on that. But it's a very Christmassy. It's not a Christmas story, but it certainly has parallels. I mean, there's always the idea that Aslan is kind of like Jesus. He's dying for the sins, and he comes back, and there was that element to the story. I remember when I read the books. I read the books before I saw that BBC version, and always enjoyed, in my own imagination, what those things looked like. And I think that it's worth noting that the Aslan lion, the costume, was part animatronic and part like pantomime horse, with two people inside it. Now, today, and even then, if you had more money, like Jim Henson and people like that were making very complex animatronics back then, but with the BBC's budget, I think, his lips don't sync. He opens his mouth and,
Well, it did look pretty real, I thought.
It was good, because I think to myself, well, the lion won't necessarily move his lips. He'll open his mouth and noise will come out, and then, my take on it is that we're translating that ourselves. He's just opening his mouth and making lion noises, but it's coming into our ears as English.
But I just thought that the fact that the public real, when I looked at pictures, I thought that's a real lion.
Yes, it does look very real indeed, and it stood the test of time. As we say, the only thing that kind of lets it down is the flying scenes. They take you out of it a bit, but
it's probably the wee haze. It's probably like the wee haze you get on CSO.
It's not even that. It's just it's a very stiff. It's like they're riding a stuffed lion or something. It's not. It doesn't sell it as well.
You don't believe he's flying.
No, I think they did the flying better in Box of Delights actually. Funny enough, but
you need to have that wind in their feet, in their hair.
Yeah, I was thinking it should be more like a never-ending story. The dragon in that.
Come, we've a long journey to do. You must ride on me.
That's just nitpicking, because overall the story was entertaining, and the performances, as you say, especially the witch, very it is, pantomime is the word, but that doesn't mean anything negative.
I love the witch.
Barbara
Yes.
Kellerman, she was awesome.
To me, she was the best character in the whole thing, just because of that pantomime type performance and the way her eyes looked at you. You know.
She had the right features for
Yeah.
that character, actually.
Absolutely.
I actually think she's scarier than Tilda Swinton, was it, who played in the film for her?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, she's got a certain dark edge that you think she might snap at any moment.
Yeah.
Because there's a veneer of politeness when she's trying to con people to her way, and then when she realizes she's got what she wants, or she's got to a certain point, it's right. No, you're not getting anything. Oh, I suppose I better feed you. I'll throw them a lump of bread.
Yeah.
You know, the Turkish
more
delight
Turkish
is
delight.
it's
Yep.
gone.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, did you bring any Turkish delight?
Well, here's the thing. No. It's quite difficult to get proper Turkish
It is,
delight.
it is.
I mean, the only thing you get is Fry's Turkish delight, which is fine, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
not the same.
I want the ones in those wee hexagon boxes
Yes,
with
although-
powdered sugar on them.
Do you know what, guys? By the magic of magic, there's Turkish delight. Now you can't eat that,
Why
but
not?
you can look at it.
Yes, is that there?
Look at how awesome this Turkish delight is.
Why can't I have any?
It's gone.
Damn, Johnny.
Sorry
Didn't even get
about
a piece.
No,
Come on.
no, I'm sorry.
Damn.
That looks pretty good.
I don't know why I come on this show, really.
I don't know why you come on either, but you know, we need you.
In
That's
fairness,
why.
I wasn't invited. I was just walking past and I just sat down for a break.
Do you know, the problem is you ran out of Red Bull and you needed somewhere to sit down.
That was it. That was really it.
We paid
Red
them.
Bull, if you're listening and you want to sponsor some of these videos,
Give
you
them
know.
some free Red Bull.
This man is a Red Bull fanatic,
mm,
and you know, I think he takes it straight though, don't you? You
No,
don't do
no,
this
no, no.
blending nonsense.
oh, so if I was the kid in Narnia, I'd be asking for the Red Bull, not the Turkish Delight.
Hold your hand like that.
Ah,
Red Bull.
thank you, Johnny. Thank you.
But no, yes, I just want to mention it was Alan Seymore adapted this. He's the guy that adapted the the Box of Delights.
Yeah, he was the box of
But
Delights,
but for some reason I was thinking that they went on to do The Borrowers, which was in the early 90s. But
I haven't
it-
seen that.
it was more the production people, not the. It wasn't the producer. Paul Stone didn't produce it, and Alan Seymore didn't adapt it. But it was in the same vein because the technology by the early 90s, 1992, had moved on so much that it was such a great show. You know, the effects were really good on that. But it's in a similar vein. If you enjoy this, you'll enjoy The Borrowers. The people, Paul Stone and Alan Seymore, they did do other adaptations as well. So it's worth looking at those. But you know, we won't talk about it in this episode. We'll do that, you know, in the future. Ronald Pickup did the voice of Aslan, and he was in the Doctor Who Reign of Terror. And he also played the Archbishop of Canterbury in Netflix on The Crown.
Ah.
I haven't seen that show, but
You mean in the Crown on Netflix?
yes,
He's in Netflix on the Crown.
yeah, all of that,
All of that.
yeah. You know, I don't have Netflix. I didn't know these things, but my researcher, you know, they've been shot, of course, now, but you don't pay them. But they brought it to my attention, but I haven't actually seen it. I like to make people aware of these important bits of information, and so you know, Colin Schindler went on to produce Lovejoy with Ian McShane. He was a producer on that show, so you know, and this is one of those early.
Actually, the thing is, I think this is after Lovejoy started. 'Cause I think Lovejoy started in '86, had a few years break.
It did, but he went on to produce it when it came back in the 90s. In fact, I don't actually know. He could have produced it before he did this, but he was a producer on that show as well. But Lovejoy came back, you know, in the early 90s. Yes, Aslan's mane was made from real yak hair. The eyes were made softer than a real lion's. Ion's a battery, isn't it? While the face had animatronic functions, which we discussed there, and there were two people inside. And you know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would be good to see a making of to see how that worked, because you would need to be quite close to those people. And there was another thing which came up in the research here, which, you know, I always find these things interesting, but plot similarities between Tolkien's Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Narnia stories were no coincidence, because both men were members of the literary discussion group known as Inklings, living trees that move and fight, but also provide a safe zone. Language is created for legendary cultures within mythology, rescues from towers, flying creatures.
Yep.
Those are a few
Very
examples.
similar
Yeah, so you can tell they sort of lean towards the same thinking in those.
But I think that's also what makes it a sort of a great thing to watch at Christmas, because it's magical. It's got that
Yes.
magical feel to it.
It does. And, you know, the storyline, just in a brief way, it's set in World War II, as we said, there's early 40s, and it's obviously in England. And the four is that Provences, that's their surname. It's Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, and they're evacuated from London to a country house of an eccentric old professor. Now he is played by Michael Aldridge, who went on to be in. Wasn't he Thora Hurd's brother in Last of the Summer Wine?
Well, Alan Seymore, yeah, because
Yes.
he came in for that period in Last Summer Wine after Falky had left the first time,
Yes.
and before
Before he came back.
Before he came back in the 90s.
Yes. And so basically, the kids are bored, restless, and first Lucy and Edmund, and then all four of the kids make their way through an attic wardrobe into Narnia, a magical land of mythical creatures and talking animals. So, you know, if you're a kid and you see that, you know, you're hooked.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it says, excuse me, Narnia is not perfect. It's always winter. We could be there today. Although this is a sunny day
It is
compared to what it
reasonably
has
sunny,
been.
yeah.
There's no storms and everything.
Yeah.
But it's never Christmas, they make that point. So Santa, or Father Christmas, whatever way you want to call him, he does make an appearance when her powers are diminishing and is able to, you know, like I just did, produce things out of thin air. So that's fun to have that
At least
there
his
as well.
presents were useful.
Yeah, well, and the White Witch began her rule, and that's why it's like this. And they're evil creatures as well as good, and there's a traitor, and only the return of Aslan can bring victory in the coming battle to win spring and freedom back to Narnia. So that's the kind of thing. It's an appealing story in the first instance, and when you read the book and you immerse yourself in it, it's always interesting to see what way people bring that to life. And I think the production team here managed very successfully with the technology available. And don't forget, it's not feature film money we're talking here. To do this over the course of 6 episodes each series, you know, they did. I think they managed very well.
They
to do
did.
that.
I mean, again, the only part that you could really criticize, as you said, maybe the flying sequences or the battle really is a non-event. But I mean, they couldn't do anything more.
And
with
it's worth
what they
noting as
had.
well, just when we were watching that, it was included in the version that we saw, but several VHS releases omitted the scene where the children are playing on the beach after they're crowned. It's included on the Region 1 DVD release.
Did it say
So-
why?
No, it doesn't say why, but I think sometimes those things are cut for time.
Time, I would imagine.
You know, so who knows? But it's always interesting when they do that sort of thing, because you feel shortchanged, you know, if you don't get the full version. And so, you know, there's not really much more we can say about this. I mean, the cast were brilliant.
I noticed that you said that the pantomime horse effect for Atom. I think that must be why, although the front looks good, maybe the back doesn't look as good.
Yeah, it could be.
But it's much better than, say, the Merca and Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh yes, yes, or the giant rat. But you know, Richard Dempsey, Sophie Cook, the main cast, that's Peter and Susan and so on. They haven't really seemed to have done much since.
No, not that I can think of. It's
I saw Barbara. Yeah, see Barbara. The one I've probably seen most of is Barbara Kellerman.
Yeah.
I seen her in a Vincent Price song called The Monster Club. She's in one of the short stories, and I saw her in a couple of weeks ago in a film on TV with Roger Moore.
okay.
Very good. Yeah. So she pops up. She's one of those people that pops up, you know, in all these different films and shows and that kind of thing. So overall, I think it's definitely worth a watch. Well produced, well acted. It stood the test of time in terms of the effects. We've noted, as you said, you know, some of them are a bit ropey, but that's acceptable. But it's a good little Christmassy series to talk about on our Christmas episode.
Yeah.
And we just like to thank everybody for tuning in and watching this.
Absolutely.
And one thing is, the video, this isn't sponsored, but what we would like to do is we're raising money for the Alzheimer's Society, and there will be a link in the description and also on screen. If you could kindly see your way to, you know, putting a few coppers our direction, that will go straight to them through the Just Giving link. You know, the episode is brought to you today. I guess it's unofficial because they haven't sanctioned this video. They wouldn't sanction this rubbish. But, you know, we are, you know, offering that to you as a little way to say, you know, a little sort of gift to them for Christmas, because we did a quiz. You would have seen that on our social media, and thanks to everybody who took part in that. And we'll be doing more of that, you know, hopefully when we can do things physically rather than over Zoom, but you know, that will remain to be seen. But if you can do that, if you can drop by the Just Giving link and throw a few coppers in there,
We'd really appreciate it.
we would. We'd thank you an awful lot. It would mean a lot to us. And even if you didn't like this, if you can do that, that would be very helpful. But
Or heck, if you donate like £1,000, we won't make any more of this. How about that? How about that?
oh dear, that's tempting fate. But the other thing I wanted to say as well is that you know, if you can, we're trying to, you know, get our subscriber count up. So if you can like, and also tell us what you thought of the Chronicles of Narnia as well, let us know. We'd be happy to hear from you. Email address show@chatschmat.com, and comment as well. But as with everything, all good things must come to
an end.
And thanks for, you know, joining us today for this. So from me, Johnny Porter, I'd just like to say Merry Christmas, everybody, and I'll see you again in another episode soon.
Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas, folks.
What would you like to eat best in all the world?
Turkish delight.
Turkish delight? It shall be.